We were living on 8th Avenue, and I had the kids in the car and was just driving around to take a look at the country. And driving down Colorado Boulevard, I saw that man who lived in what I call a yellow house, which was right on the corner. He raised Shetland ponies, and he came out of the barn with a baby just born in his arms. It was so cute, so I just drove in and asked if kids could pet it, you know. It got me interested in finding a place out here in the country. And then we drove around here, and I just love this place. I saw it, and I saw the barns, and I saw all that lovely pasture, and I finally talked the Hanans into deciding they would sell it to me. I moved in here with 4 of my children and 3 of Keith's. My grandfather and grandmother bought a big hunk of land in New Jersey, and they lived there, and their kids grew up there. And I keep running into people who say, "Are you a Huber? Do you know about Huber Woods?" Yes, I do. I grew up in them. Had a wonderful time playing in the hay mow and all that kind of stuff, and jumping out the window of the barn into the hay wagon. When my parents died, my brother Mike told the family about turning it into open space or selling it to a developer who, of course, was chomping at the bit. All of us said, by all means, let's give it to the county for open land and save this lovely piece of woods and farm. Certainly it influenced the way I feel about how you should do things. The first people who lived here were the Hopkins, and their name is on the plaque on the front house, the Hopkins Farm. It's the second oldest standing farmhouse left, and it's on the National Historic Register. It was a dairy farm. This house, of course, it wasn't here. Nothing on the east side of the High Line was here. The first houses on the east side of the High Line were built. They were, I thought, very suitable ranch house types that fitted into the way the village was at that time. But since then, it seems to me that every time somebody sells what looks to me like a reasonable house, something gigantic immediately goes up on what looks to me like too small a lot for that size house. I'm probably the only person that owns both sides of the canal, from Quincy to the end of my pond. Since Cherry Hills will own this, they can make sure that the High Line is still a great place and that they don't clear cut it so that we don't have all the good birds and all the good stuff that lives there now. Well, I swiped that sign because I wanted my pony clubbers to remember to wear their hard hats when they were around the horses. I used to find the pony clubbers $1 if I caught them riding without their helmets on and buckled up correctly. Pony Club doesn't just teach kids to ride, it teaches them how to feed their horses, how to take care of them, how to maintain a barn, how to keep their tack clean. Kids now go to a commercial barn and somebody's cleaned up their horse and tacked it up, and they get on and they don't know what it eats, and they don't know how they get wormed and get their medications, and they just don't know. They just climb on and ride and get off and hand it to somebody. That one's Tony the pony, and that's Lobo the Mustang. Tony is an angel pony that takes care of beginning riders. Lobo's a bully, a wild Mustang, afraid of people. Yes, yes. They had to learn to take care of this stuff and keep it clean and look beautiful, and they had to have their horses stand inspection. Judges were really picky, and they'd look at everything and pick up their feet and make sure that everything was just done right. Then we had like a spelling bee where you answer questions, and you had to have certain things with you. Like if you're going on a trip, you have to bring a first aid kit, and you have to know where everything is in the first aid kit, and if you don't know, what good is it? And I learned more about riding from teaching Pony Club than I ever learned as a kid, just climbing on the family's horses and bombing around the countryside. I took a team back to Leavenworth, Kansas once, and I took a team to Kentucky. Wherever they had the national rallies, we would go. I had a big 6-horse trailer. That was not fun to drive. The Richies had a wonderful ranch down in Sedalia, and we used to have Pony Club camp. They had an old cabin that was part of this stage route from Colorado Springs to Denver. Kids would pitch tents, and we'd have a big camp out in the country, and she had a cross-country course that we could fool around on up there. Well, I loved growing up with horses myself, and I think a lot of kids like to grow up with horses too. It certainly shows up when kids come here, Candy told me that Tony's just standing in the aisle and 3 little girls are brushing on him and combing and brushing, and he's going, oh boy, this is what I'm here for. I used to take some of the kids coyote hunting. They had to be reasonable before they could get out in the open country like that and bomb around. I told Cherry Hills they couldn't tear down this barn. They can tear down all the rest, but they can't tear down this barn. It's too nice. This barn is protected in the conservation easement. I think it's the oldest remaining in Cherry Hills Village. The whole idea of putting a conservation easement on the property was that it would stay the same. They can take stuff down, but they can't put stuff up. They can't take the front house down, and they can't take this barn down. They can take my house down, but they can't put something up. No castles. You can see the view, you can see the trees, you have little green grass, and they can take everything out and let it go wild, but they can't put in a soccer field or tennis court or basketball hoops or anything like that. It's supposed to be open space. I would like children to come out here and learn about nature. And if they want to go up to the pond and catch frogs or pollywogs or something like that, that's, something that kids should do. And the amazing thing that we've found about this place up here, the barn area, is when kids come here, they make forts in the bushes just like my kids, like the Stewart's kids, like everybody who has ever been here. They all play the same games. And I don't think kids get a chance to invent their own kind of game like that so much anymore, but I think it's great. I think when you live on some land that you really love, you hate to think that when you go, it's going to be divided up into lots and be a development. I didn't like it in New Jersey, and I wouldn't like it here. I really like this place, and I really would be sad to see if they flattened everything and made it into lots.